Yeah, it made me goddamn. By the end of it, I was burnt out, and I didn't like joke writing, and I didn't like comedy for quite a while when we stopped doing that. And when I left the comedy channel, I just needed to reset, and I had to have a break for a bit because I just was just staring at a wall, going, just trying to come up with something funny was just the most least appealing thing I could think of doing.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy, with yours truly, Michael Kahan.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Today's guest is deep, honest, and reflective. Cam's a fun guy with charisma and a great conversationalist. I love his passion. He has great self-awareness, a keen mind for growth and moving forward, all the tools for a great chat. I really enjoyed this chat, and I think you will too. There's a lot of gems in this one. And before we get into it, Cam has a few shows in Sydney. I believe the dates are the 7th to the 10th of May. Check them out before they sell out. And he's also performing at the Newcastle Comedy Festival, I believe July the 19th. Links are in the episode notes, so check them out. Okay, let's get into it. Cam Knight is a stand-up comedian, actor, and presenter. He was the co-host of the Channel 9 show Unreal Estate alongside Kate Langbroek in 2016. He's also regularly appeared on The Today Show, co-hosted Studio 10 on Channel 10, and can be heard as a weekly co-host on Triple M's Merrickville and The Weekenders with Dan Ginane in Sydney, as well as performing sellout shows across the country, performing around London and receiving 5-star reviews and award nominations. Cam featured on the televised Montreal Just for Laughs Festival stand-up series at the Sydney Opera House in 2015, 2019, and 2023, as well as hosting the televised Sydney Comedy Festival Gala on the Comedy Channel. He has guest starred on ABC's Tonightly, Skit Box, Soulmates, Comedy Up Late, and How Not to Behave, the second series of The Other Guy on Stan, as well as the upcoming series of Drunk History on Network 10. In 2024, he landed the key role of funny Steve Farley in The Last King of the Cross Season 2. He also hosted a variety of shows on Foxtel for 5 years in the mid-2000s, most notably Stand Up Australia on the Comedy Channel. So as you can imagine, we dive deep and we cover a lot, and we chat about his time with Foxtel, acting, 1.5-star misprints in the paper, performing new material every day, sobriety and learnings, hate mail, imposter syndrome, burnout, breathwork, The Last King of the Cross, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, in case you aren't aware, the videos are now available on YouTube under Michael Kahan. That's Kahan with a K, unless you're listening to it already. I'll still be posting snippets of these chats on Instagram under Funny in Failure, so check them out if you want to stay in the loop for upcoming episodes, or you want to ask a guest a question. I'd also love it if you would share the podcast or share your takeaways from the chat. It really motivates me, helps the podcast grow, and ensures I can lock in amazing guests like this one. And just as a final reminder, the podcast comes out at 3:30 Melbourne, Australian time, with the full video of the podcast to be released the following day. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's get into it. This could be a funny place to start. I want to know what you were thinking. This was many years ago, but when you saw your 1.5 stars due to a misprint in the newspaper.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. So what I was thinking was that that's awful. It was a very, I didn't know that it was a misprint at the time. So for half a day, I thought, I got 1.5 stars in the Age for this show. That's pretty rough because that was only my second ever solo show. And yeah, and I didn't think it was that bad, which is really funny. And then I had a publicist then because I had a bit of cash because the Comedy Channel at that time had helped produce the show, which was really lovely of them.
Nice.
So I was feeling really awful because it's like, oh God, these guys have backed me. I'm on the Comedy Channel. I've just got a 1.5 star review. This is terrible. And then my publicist called me and said, no, it's a misprint. It's a misprint. And they'll reprint it on Saturday, which was, I think, I had to wait another 3 days or something. And so what was really funny, though, was, in Melbourne, when you do Melbourne Comedy Festival, if you get a bad review, your mates will come up and go, oh, mate, sorry about your review, and you get a little pat on the shoulder. And so I had to keep saying, oh, no, it was a misprint. It's coming out on Saturday. And they're like, okay, sure it is, buddy. Like, no one believed me. And then, it did come out with, and I mean, I got it ended up being 3.5, which
There's
it is a massive difference. Yeah. But if it's for a second show, I was like, okay, that's a pass, Yeah. But then there was some rumors going around that the reason I got that was that it was originally a 1.5 star review, and that because the Comedy Channel was at that point a sponsor of the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, some other comics were angry at me because they thought I used my supposed pull or power to get the Comedy Channel to lean on the Age newspaper and make them give me a better review. Like Murdoch himself called on my behalf.
Hey, bro, can you
went, hey, mate, give him a 3.5 star review. This is bullshit. He's the face of the Comedy Channel. He's sacked and hang up. Like, as if we had that power.
I'm proud of you, though. If you somehow did have that power, that's pretty cool. Like, you didn't
I'd love to have that power.
You didn't do 5, you put it at 3.5, so that
Yeah. That's so funny. How did you even know that? How did you even remember that?
I've called everyone you've ever met in your life. I've got cameras in your house. I've listened to everything. It's kind of weird. There's a camera right behind you on the left.
That's funny. This is Truman. Yeah. Yeah. And I got a rough one from Jim Shembry as well, a while back. But that didn't bother me quite so much because that felt like a rite of passage. It feels to me that if you get a shitty Shembry review, you just sort of join the ranks of many other illustrious comedians who are doing very well for themselves, and it's totally fine. And the funny thing is too, on the same evening, I crushed that night. And he even mentions it in the review that the audience was basically eating out of the palm of my hand, but he wasn't. He was dissatisfied with certain things because I didn't go into why I stopped drinking, because I just mention it flippantly, make a gag, get a laugh and move on. And I think he wanted more, please, was what he wrote in the review. And it's like, mate, I'm not here to do Nanette. I'm here to write jokes. You know what I mean? Chill out. I don't want to talk about my alcoholism or my sobriety and what it means to me. I didn't want to open a vein. It's a night of jokes. I like making people laugh. But that wasn't what he wanted. So that's the funny thing about reviewers, particularly him. It's like, well, this isn't what I wanted. It was like, well, mate, I didn't fucking write it for you. I wrote it for me. And in that same night, I had another reviewer in. It was from The Music, and they gave me a 4-star review. Nice. And I had it, and for that same show as well in Brisbane, I got a 5-star review. So when Shembry's came out, I posted all of them. I didn't try and hide that I got that review. I was nice. This is what I've got for him. Come along, you be the judge.
That's how it should be done.
I feel like it should, absolutely. It's like these are some people's opinions. It ranges from 5 to whatever Shembry gave me, which I think was a 1-star as well.
A 1-star, and he admits that you're doing well.
I was crushed. I crushed that show. It was so funny. And then that same night, it got a 4-star review as well. So it's just, horses for courses, man. It's got to be water off a duck's back.
How do you put that in balance? Because I've become recently obsessed with reviews, because now I don't think they matter really at all. In that time, it definitely did, because you get a 5-star in a newspaper. That makes a big difference. Now with social media, it's changed. But you've got people who see the lens through their own bias and their own triggers. But you actually have a guy that admitted you did well, and then for whatever his biases are, he gives you a 1 or 1.5. That would drive me nuts. But I love your approach of how you show all of them and said you make the decision. But still, if you get some arsehole with a bit of power just writing a review about you, does it drive you nuts, or have you just learned to,
I just don't think you can really, you have to sort of be, you have to be subjective about it, and you have to be like in that instance as well, it's just, it's just someone's opinion on it. And yeah, you can't let that sort of stuff affect you. People do let reviews, or do let their success sort of hinge on reviews. And in many ways it does affect, like if people are really playing the game and they want to get best newcomer, or they're really, really vying for a best show or an award. And I think that's a bit sad if you're writing a festival show specifically for awards, because they want that notoriety added onto that. I mean, for me, I'm not going to deny, like, the first time I ever got a 5-star review was one of the most mind-blowing and validating moments in my life. And that was in Adelaide for the Adelaide Fringe. And it did help. It sold out my run after that, and that was weird too, because then you get a bunch of people who read the advertiser, who are clearly not my demographic, filling up my show. And I was grateful for the numbers and the money, but it was also kind of weird to have moments where, some of the stuff was a bit over their head, and I'm playing to an audience full of people the age of my parents. Like, that was kind of strange,
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like you can't, if you're trying to, if you're seeking this validation for your show based purely off reviews, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. But it does suck. It does really dampen your spirits for a while if particularly if it comes out early. I've seen it happen to other people where they'll put in all of this effort and the show's good, and then they get an average review or a really bad review, and then it just sort of ruins everything. It takes the wind out of their sails, and then it's kind of stuffed the whole festival for them, because you're on the back foot, and then you're trying to still pedal and flyer and push this show that you believe in, that a reviewer hasn't believed in. So you can't say, oh, it's got great reviews so far, and it's a harder pitch then for you to get those numbers.
How have you been able to balance that? Because I would imagine, especially earlier on, and I know you got success very early, that can kind of steer a younger comedian in a different direction. Well, if they don't like it, I have to be this person. But I feel like you've been pretty good with that.
Well, yeah, I think there's been many different, I mean, you do evolve a lot as you get older with your own style and things that you want to talk about, and what affects you and what doesn't affect you. And I think when you're younger too, like, you're really you are seeking out that validation quickly, and you want this notoriety, or you want this success, and you might not have the chops to back it. And I think, I don't know, I mean, I copped a lot of flack early on just with being on TV, being on the Comedy Channel. Like, I had a lot of hate mail.
Oh, really?
I had people that liked me, but I also had, a fair bit of hate mail coming in, and some really gross, violent, gratuitous hate mail as well.
Wow.
And so at a really young age, when you're getting that sort of stuff, it is a bit frightening, but you also just have to get on with it and do the show. And now, I don't know, like, even when we started posting lots of stuff online, when, Facebook came along, or Twitter, and we're all on there. I mean, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but when it first came out, just getting people, just trolls just coming at you at first, like, it did really hurt, because because it was new back then.
Yeah.
It did hurt, because you feel like you're in high school again. You're just getting bullied by these faceless goons or whatever. And I really didn't appreciate that. And it does make you lose faith in yourself. But now I just don't, it doesn't really, maybe it's because there's been so much vitriol spread via the internet that your skin is just so thick, it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, if anybody still now posts something in the comment section of anything that I've done, like if it's a sketch with Heggie where we've done a Botlo sketch, or any of my stand-up or something, and they go, this sucks, you're not funny, or whatever, I never respond with anything mean back to them. I just say, well, I'm really sorry that didn't, I'm really sorry it's not your thing. The internet's massive. I'm sure you'll find something on here that you enjoy. Best of luck with it all. And they always seem to respond kindly back to me after that.
Yeah.
Some people have even said, "Oh yeah, nah, man, it's all good. Like, been a fan of yours since the Comedy Channel. Keep it up." So, like, what are you doing?
It's probably so funny of jealousy.
If you be nice to them, then they go, "Oh no, you're all right. You're all right." It's like, yeah, well, you did just tell me I suck, but I never try and inflame it in any way. It's always like, man, the internet's massive. Off you pop.
I agree, and it's also a mature approach now, and we'll talk about how you develop the thick skin. But also, I don't understand the person. Not only that says you're not funny, just don't, like, you clearly watched enough of it to come to that point. It's like, I've watched all of your stuff. I hate you. Like, so why are you watching it?
I watch so much of your stuff. I watch your stuff daily, and I hate you so much. I
can't sleep without it.
And that's almost obsessive because you're going, okay, well, what are you plotting?
Yeah. And then with the hate mail, when you're on Foxtel, we'll talk about Foxtel as well, but you're on Foxtel, you're killing it. You got a big name for yourself. You got so many more people enjoying you than not. You've given me a look. What's that look? And then you've got some people send you hate mail. How do you deal with that? Because that's a different ball game as well.
Well, it's funny. I think I gave you that look because at the time I didn't know what I was doing, and I had a huge sense of imposter syndrome, and that I didn't deserve to be there. I felt that there was other people that were more suited to this job with more experience under their belt than I was. And so it took me a long time to come around to the fact that, well, I auditioned and I got this job, and then I held up my own, and then I was offered these more opportunities because of the fact that I did a good job. And it took me a while to tell myself, hey, you did a good enough job that these people wanted to employ you for 5 years. Like, stop beating yourself up about it all the time.
No.
But yeah, the hate mail was kind of funny. Like, I had to do a record because we used to shoot the whole, when it was on every day, when Stand Up Australia was on every day, or every night rather. In the first season it was on every night, and then the second season we just chopped it back to weekly. And so we'd shoot the whole block in one day, and then they'd edit it up. So it was a really big day's shoot. And I remember just before we had to go and do that shoot, I got pulled in, and security sat me down and just showed me all of these letters. And there was like photos of myself with my eyes gouged out, or a cigarette butt put out in them, or saying things like, you're gay, and worse things than that. And what I'm going to do to you, I'm going to kill you, I hope you die, kill yourself, all that sort of stuff.
Jeez.
And but it was just kind of in that time, because I was about to go and do the show. I was about to go and shoot the show. Yeah. So I feel like I think I was kind of in shock at the absurdity of the decision making to show me this now. But I think they were trying to say, well, look, we've upped security today because we don't know if this person's going to be in the audience. And I was just going, okay, I guess.
I didn't even know I had this. But thanks for bringing it to my attention.
Thanks very much. But that it was funny because it made me go out and really go hard and have I wanted to make the show really good.
Yeah.
It's funny that, it didn't make me withdraw. It made me go, all right, well, let's go and let's just make this the best we can make it. But I really wish now I kept those things. I didn't get to keep the hate mail. I really wish it was so much of it. They said, yeah, it's this one person, and you send
it's only, okay.
It seemed to be one person that just hated you. But there was other people every now and then, but there was one person quite specifically, and they could tell by the handwriting and the style of things that he was saying or whatever.
That forensic, doctor analysing that. He's at it again.
Yeah. And I wish that I kept that now. I kind of would love to have been able to use it in a show, read out the things that he'd said. Would have been pretty amazing, because now I don't have that. Now I got rid of Twitter as well. I remember I'd been on Twitter for 2 days, and I think I didn't even know how to use it. And then I got someone tweeted at me, at Cam Knight, to be a comedian, you actually have to be funny, full stop, shit cunt. And that, I screenshotted that and I posted that, and I just said, I think I found the name for my next solo show.
If you go back on Twitter and reactivate it, you can probably find all the other stuff.
I'd love to. Yeah, that just would mean having to reactivate Twitter, and I have no desire to do that. So
get someone else to do it through you, and then
maybe. maybe.
Oh, that's so okay. I want to go back. That's genuinely the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's almost like saying just before you're about to get on stage, by the way, your wife's been cheating on you. The kids aren't yours. Anyway,
Yeah.
have a great show.
Have a great show. Yeah, it's like I'll give you. You've got 3 months to live. Hey, smash it tonight.
You're going to do great.
You're going to do great, mate. Yeah, it was very much like that. It was very strange.
And you didn't even know you had this like stalker person until
No,
they brought us.
that was the first time that I knew about it. Yeah.
What was the conversation like afterwards, or was it still like a processing thing?
I don't think I had a conversation with them afterwards. I know that at that I did get really drunk after the show. I do remember that, but I think they did call me in maybe a few weeks later to check in and stuff, but no more had sort of come in, and so there was no way of tracking it. They used to have this blog on the Comedy Channel website, which just gave them some insight on what people liked watching and what they didn't like watching. And I remember there was a female comedian that we got in to help us out with some stuff, and they wrote some really awful things about her on this blog. And so then I took that to the powers that be and just said, can we get rid of this blog? I don't think it's doing anything but just causing negativity. It's just spreading hate, and have a look at this stuff, what they said about her, and I think we should get rid of it. And they did, which was really nice. That was kind of nice. That was that's as powerful as it gets. It's not Murdoch calling the Age. It's just me going, can we take this bad blog down, please?
Oh, can you imagine you call Murdoch and he's like, he cancels all of his meetings. Cam's on the phone, cancels.
It was even funnier. I call Murdoch and goes, nah, that was me, you fuckhead.
Have you spoken about this? Because that's hilarious on stage.
No, I haven't.
You have to, even like your peers, and it reminds me of prison, like, oh, I'm innocent, like, sure you are, buddy, and you tell
yeah.
That's hilarious. And back to the Foxtel, because this is a huge part of your life. Foxtel's doing so well, especially in that time. You've been doing it for 5 years, and I know you mentioned imposter syndrome. Where did that come from? Because I know there's a lot of other comedians, you're newer to the space. Was it internal, or were comedians saying you don't deserve it? Or was it more like, I'm young?
I think it was I'm young, but then also you could just tell, and I know you could just hear people. I knew that I was being talked about, I guess, in some respects, because I'd heard them talk about the older comedians talk about other young comics that have had shots and them getting mad that, it's like, when's my shot? I deserve it, like I did. And that, okay. And I mean, I knew, like, I would look at other comics that were way better than me, and I was just thinking, why didn't they get that shot? But it happened to land in my lap, and I ran with it, But then after a while, I think people had sort of come around to the fact that I had that I was doing a pretty good job, like I was pretty proficient at it. So it wasn't like, and I wasn't trying to leverage my position on the comedy scene too quickly, being on the channel. Like it's not like I was going, okay, well, now I'm on television, I want to be a headliner.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't. I was a mid-level comic then. Oh. So it's not like, I can't close a show. I couldn't close a show then. And even I did my first 2 Melbourne Comedy Festival shows were pretty much a direct result of being on the Comedy Channel. I was there and I hadn't even done an hour. I hadn't even done my first hour, and I was doing this stuff on TV. Usually people do their shows and get a bit of notoriety and then land on TV. But I just happened I'd auditioned for a show. I got that show. And then a couple of months later, they offered me another show. The first show was on Fox 8. And then after that, the second show was on the Comedy Channel. And then I just got more work, and then got the development deal offered to me from doing a good job, basically. But it was, but I had felt, I'm on the Comedy Channel, I should probably do an hour. I have to put an hour together. That's what you have to do, right? And so did that, went that way of things, thinking, I better show that I can do an hour.
Well, to me, it shows, and this industry, as you know, is a very interesting industry. There's a lot of ups and downs. It's not always linear. You might be killing it one year, not do as well the next year. Depends what your metrics are. But it just
Yeah.
shows that everyone's journey is unique. And it's not like you
I'm
called
still
your
like
best.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. It's so random, and you feel like you're living your life with a lotto ticket.
Oh, interesting. I want
Yeah.
to hear about that. It's not like you called your best buddy Murdoch and you're like, "Hey, bro, can I
Can
get
I
this
get back
watched?"
on? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to stop. I'm going to bring up every opportunity I can.
Yeah.
But going back to that, like, there's been a bit of a theme. There's been a lot of jealousy, and obviously a lot of comedians. Everyone wants that role, but you auditioned. It's not like every producer was your family and friends. Like, you auditioned, you got the role. Like, you earned the role. They obviously saw something in you, and you did a great job.
Mm.
And then like with people giving like negative feedback, often that's jealousy as well. We don't know what's in their head, but generally it can be jealousy. So I think that's just such a unique, pathway into comedy. And could you realize that it was their jealousy at the time as well? Because they want it, but you earned
Well,
it.
I didn't know. I mean, I felt like, and I've said this before on another podcast, that I feel like I created an imaginary group of people in my head that were against me.
Mm.
And that's whether or not they existed or not is another thing.
Yeah.
I think when you do, yes, when you start out, I think you do. I think a lot of people get it if they get work young, they just sit there and go, "Oh no!" Like people are always going to think you don't deserve it. Somebody else deserves it. They've worked harder than you. They should get the job. And no one ever said anything to me, to my face. So I just tried to. I kept just trying to do good work. I just kept trying to go, okay, maybe if I just keep working at this craft and get better at it, then I can earn their respect. Just because then I'm not just riding on the coattails of having got some success on television.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a really healthy approach. And from, I think it was Stand Up Australia. Is that where
Mm.
you said you're filming every single night, and you personally have to do like 30 seconds to 2 minutes worth of stuff every single day? Is that correct?
Yeah, we had it blocked out at the top of the show that it was about 2 to 3 minutes of stuff at the top.
Yeah.
And then you're doing little bits in the middle. So it was structured like a live comedy show, and the set looked like a pub. And so you'd come out and you'd open the show and you'd welcome everybody and then say who's on and then do a bit and then introduce the first act and then throw to an ad and then come out of the ad and do another bit and then intro the other comic. It was kind of like that. It's just like a normal night. So we had to write so much material.
Yeah. How did you
And
not
so much untested material as well.
Exactly.
Oh,
Every single day.
yeah. Yeah, it was rough. There was some nights that, just stuff just did not work.
Can you tell me about that? One, I know you've spoken about burnout, but you are doing this every single day. You're not practicing. You're probably thinking of stuff like just before you're getting up, and you're doing this every single day, new material. That's pretty scary. What was the mindset? Just have to get out just day at a time.
Well, we were just trying to hardest to do it. So yeah, I had a couple of writers that were sort of throwing in a little bit here and there, but for the most part, then that just didn't really work. So I ended up just getting a job for a friend of mine, another comedian, Dave Williams, and because we studied acting together in Adelaide, and he's kind of the reason I got into comedy anyway. He booked a gig behind my back one night, even though I didn't have any material. He just said, "You're on tonight, smartass," because he always just said you should do stand up. And so we just walked to the gig and I came up with 5 minutes of gear that I could try and do. And then I just went, "Oh, this is fun. Maybe I'll keep doing this."
Nice.
So I felt like, well, I'll give him the job. So he got this paid writing job weekly. So we'd get together on, one day a week and just sit and just plow through and just try and go. We were just sitting there going, what's funny? What do we want to do? And then try and work it out. And then we'd write the scripts out, send those over. It was usually like a 2-day thing where we'd sort of go over the material, and then I'd have to sort of write all the scripting out so they could put it into the auto cue. And that was with intros and outros as well. I always like to write the intros for the comedians because if I knew them, I wanted to write them a really good introduction.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just wanted that sort of touch, I guess. And so I had to send all that out, and then we'd go and shoot it. But yeah, we hadn't tested any of it. So when the second season came around, I did get out in the clubs and open mics and was trying to test as much stuff as I could just to gauge if any of this was. I had a bit of time between the blocks, the shooting blocks, to get out
once
there
a week as opposed to every day. Yeah.
Yeah, but just in between season 1 and season 2, when they said we're going into a season 2, I went, okay. So I just went, all right, I better do some more writing and then work some stuff out and go out at the open mics and get some stuff tested. At least so I had, a couple of weeks or a few weeks episodes under my belt, and then we got back into that regular routine again. Writing. But yeah, it made me, goddamn, by the end of it, I was burnt out, and I didn't like joke writing and I didn't like comedy for quite a while when we stopped doing that. And when I'd left the Comedy Channel, I just needed to reset and I had to have a break for a bit because I just was just staring at a wall, just trying to come up with something funny was just the least appealing thing I could think of doing.
So what did you do in that? No, I fully get it.
I took a break. And I spent my savings for a while. Like I literally took a bit of a break.
I think that's
off work. Yeah.
Because I don't think people can understand how hectic it is. It's not only just the writing, but it's the getting up all the time to perform it. And then you seeing it not, you've done comedy to have fun. And that potentially, even though you're very grateful for it and you said at the start, but it can take away from the fun and play aspect because you've really got deadlines and pressure. And that goes against sometimes why we get into the art. So it's like, shit, I have to get this out. So
and I mean, you hear about that a lot now with SNL too. Conan's been very candid about it, talking about what the writer's room was like and how it was really intense. And you kind of go, yeah, I get that. I mean, I wasn't in that room with a group of people and I didn't have the network breathing down my neck quite so heavily. But it was just me and Dave in this room trying to work this out, and had, I guess, my own conscience breathing down my neck because I wanted to get this right, Because like the Comedy Channel were really cool. Even if something didn't do well, it was so funny. I remember one time I came off stage after doing an opener that just bombed, and it totally bombed. It got nothing. And I went up to one of the producers and like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, that's cool, just cut it out. We'll just leave it. We just won't have you doing a bit at the top of this one. I went, okay. Everyone was really supportive in that way. Like that was a lovely thing too. But I mean, I still wanted it to work. I didn't want them to have to cut it out.
Yeah.
So then it was just me going, welcome to the show, got a great lineup, and here's your first act, and straight into the intro for the act, basically. And I think that happened throughout the whole thing maybe twice, which is not bad stats.
That's very good. And how many episodes did you?
Again, I don't know. There was apparently someone told me we did about 120 episodes.
Yeah, that's how did you live? That's what I don't understand. You have a family. Were you able to?
I didn't have a family back then though. Like I was free. I was free. That's such I love my children. Yeah. No, I didn't have kids back then. This is like nearly 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
When you think about it. So I was young and I was in a relationship, but I think that I self-medicated a lot. I was pretty stressed a bit of the time, so I was drinking probably more than I should have, and I could have probably looked after myself a lot better in that regard. But I just had to keep reminding myself that this is a really great stepping stone, and also it was a really great education in television. But it was you were thrown into the deep end straight away, basically, and I didn't know what I was doing to begin with. And like, even I remember there was a show that I hosted, the show that I got the reason I got the contract with the Comedy Channel, or one of the reasons, was there was a show that I got offered to host a show off the back of the show that I had auditioned for on Fox 8, and it was a gong show, and it was shot at the Comedy Store, and it was called We'll Call You, and it was it was a red hot mess, and it was a talent show, and had a panel of judges, and we had Barry Crocker doing the voiceover intro. and we had a guy on a keyboard that just wore a gorilla mask, and if the act was terrible, the audience would start chanting, and they'd literally drop a giant net on top of them. And I'd have to come out and clean up that mess. And sometimes children would cry. And we're having
What is happening here?
I know,
There's so
mate.
much happening.
Look, yeah, it was the early 2000s. Things were a lot different back then. But also, there was no auto cue. There was script. They'd given me a script, and I'd have to memorize all this stuff. And then also, I had an earpiece in my ear that connected me to the director in the truck outside of the venue. And so he was constantly chiming into my head, and it became this real interesting flow state. And I think that's where back then, with ADHD, it was just this, I got right into this hyper focus thing. It was like circular breathing, mental circular breathing, that I was capable of taking in what he was saying, and then also memorizing what I had to say and trying to integrate all of those things and letting them come out of my mouth fluently and coherently. And I somehow managed to keep all of that together without losing my mind, because I think, a lot of people would have just crumbled in that situation, but somehow, I don't know, like I just kept together, and they went, oh, this guy, he's good. He's good. He's got good chops. Like, he can keep it together. He knows how to. There wasn't any panic in my eye. It was just like, okay, let's get this done.
Because that, just from what it sounds like, and there's obviously other variables besides the kids crying, but that
was awful.
Yeah, but first of all, a gorilla, it makes no sense to me, the gongs, all of that. But just having the earpiece, you're trying to do something and someone else is talking to you, that is the most distracting thing in the world. I know you reached enlightenment, but that scares me.
And it's hard too, because and now that I've got kids too, if I'm trying to focus on something and they're being noisy, like, it really affects me. But back then, for some reason, it's just because, I don't know, maybe it was the way that he spoke to me, or it wasn't like he was yelling at me in my ear, which I have had before as well. But he wasn't yelling at me in my ear. It was just do this or do that, or maybe say this, or can you go over and do that over stage left, or whatever. And all the while, I'm just sort of improvising the scripting, because it wasn't completely written.
I can see why you got the role. Don't need that imposter.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely a pretty validating moment.
I can imagine. When did that also? It sounds like your main role was the net, like, cleaner upper.
The net, yeah. I mean, that's the job of an MC everywhere, isn't it? Just to mop up every now and then.
And I know you said it really helped, with TV experience. How did that and Stand Up Australia help with your comedy? I know there was the burnout, you didn't enjoy it, but did you feel like you kind of gained comedy experience, like, on steroids? What was?
Yeah, I think I learned how to do. I was learning how to do stand up while I was on TV. That's the thing. Like, I'd only been doing stand up for maybe 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Before I got this job, and so I cut my teeth doing television with Australia watching, rather than just doing it in shitty open mics to 10 or 5 people. I had an audience of people watching me sometimes fail. And while I was in that moment, it was really degrading and awful. And I had a lot more self-doubt, I guess, than I don't know, the normal comedian would. But it just also taught me a lot about, just TV and like in that instance with the producer just saying, that's all right, we'll cut it out. Like, there's ways around, there's a workaround, we can work around these problems, and we can work around you, we can sort of help this out. But I think also I did put a lot of pressure on myself to make it good or to be good. And it took me a long time to be comfortable with, I guess, failure. So it's, I don't know. It made me, it made me want to be a better comedian. It still made me want to work on being a better comedian in the live sense. And because I wasn't happy with a lot of the stuff that we'd written for the show. Like I said, it was all not last minute, but it hadn't been tested, and it needs to be tested, I feel. And it just made me, I guess it made me say to myself, I don't want you to don't put anything in a show that's you're not completely 100%. You're not completely 100% about. I just think if you've got fluff in your show, if you're doing an hour show and there is a lot of filler in those hours, you can see it. And people just put it in there because they want to fill it out. And you just think, well, when you're going into a bit and you're already like, when you're about to go into it and you feel this sense of dread, I think that's you telling yourself you should have cut this out.
Oh, that's a great life lesson, not just for
Yeah.
comedy as well, when you have
Yeah.
that internal response.
Yeah.
And did it make you more fearless? Because obviously there's obviously a lot of fear going on at the time. Afterwards, were you like, I'm resilient, I can do this? What was the relationship with fear?
No, I think I had the opposite. I think when I left there and I had that break, I was really trying to work out if I was going to do this again, and what that would look like. And so that made me quite scared, because I wondered, I was kind of wondering what I was going to do next. And no, I wasn't. It didn't give me this immense amount of confidence. It was still that I felt I had a lot more to learn, for sure.
So after that break, what did you do to kind of, learn and grow? Was it just get back and do as
I
many
just got
gigs?
back in. Yeah, just gig, just try and work up as much material and stage time as possible. Yeah,
That's the only thing you can do, right?
it basically is. That's all you can do. Or you can sit here and talk to yourself in your bedroom, but that's about it. Yeah.
I also heard you talk on another podcast, and I think you've had a brilliant career. But you were saying after the Foxtel, because Foxtel's super popular here, and there was a lot of people watching Foxtel as well, that you thought you'd have like a career kind of like Osher Gunsberg,
Yeah,
Ginsberg,
yeah.
Gunsberg.
Yeah, because we were on around the same time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what was the thinking there? Because every path's unique and everyone's got a different style. What were you thinking at the time?
Well, where I was going to go,
Yeah.
or what I wanted to do. Yeah, I
Like
didn't really
career
know
and
what.
fame.
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what was going to be on offer, because we have such a small industry here in Australia, and it's quite a cottage industry as well. And the things that are available to you, you have a lot more competition. And so I didn't know if it was going to be a stepping stone towards an illustrious TV career like Osher's, or not. And I did not come out of that with any expectation from the industry. I had hoped that it was enough to get me over the line or get me in the door with certain things. And it did. It got me meetings with people. It got me meetings with radio. It got me a couple of auditions on radio shows and stuff like that. And just trying to find where I fit, but nothing really landed. I mean, I didn't work. I don't think I worked on television for quite a while after that, if I'm honest. Like, I'd had a really good run of it, and then it was quite a bit of a break. Like maybe the odd little bit here or there, but there wasn't anything that I had fronted for quite some time after that. And so it was me. That was when I just threw myself into stand up, because I thought, okay, well then let's get this going again. It felt like a reset. I felt like, okay, I have to prove my worth again. Maybe I have to. I felt like, I've spoken about this too. It's like I got my career in reverse. Like, I got success first, and then it all just started crumbling, instead of the other way around. It was just like, trying to work your way up from nothing and then get to success. And so now I've got that success first, and then it did dip. Like, it dipped quite a lot, and I had to sort of regroup and just start from the start again. I felt like it with stand up anyway. I didn't want to rush it. I didn't have any expectation of being, again, a headliner straight away or whatever. I just wanted to do that when I felt like I deserved it.
That you have a very level head, and it's very scary. I used to be an accountant, so I knew, unless if I was going to do something fucked up, I'm always going to go up. Like, there's no like going backwards. Maybe you lose your job, but like generally you get a higher position. But then in the arts, as you said, 5 years of Foxtel, top of the game here, and it doesn't quite look like that. And every single person I've spoken to, it's never been all the way up. But it's scary, because we think, oh, I've just done this amazing show. Why aren't I like using that as leverage? But as we said,
there's so many different variables in play that can work against all of that. And there's so many times you sort of feel like, oh, this is coming up again. You can feel it. You go, something's happening. And then it just kind of plateaus for a bit. And you go, what? Huh? Oh, okay. Oh, we're here now. And you can get in your head about that, because you do see other people just sort of get this astronomical rise and whatever. And I don't begrudge them for it in any way, shape or form, but We all got our own journey, but you do kind of, it's so funny now, like whenever I do feel that feeling or I have got a job, even, doing Last King of the Cross last year, you go, this is a really great opportunity. This is a great experience. And I don't know what this is going to get me, and I don't know if it's going to get me anything. So don't go into it with any expectation and just enjoy it for what it is. And you might have, particularly with acting, you might go, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you get another job, because that's just the way it is. And that's the greatest thing about having stand-up is that stand-up's always been there for me to just go back to it and pay my bills and feed my kids. And I'm so grateful for that, for sure. But again, you see other comedians rise up and go to different places, and they can fill bigger rooms. And I haven't sort of risen up that rank as well, because I'm quite limited now I can't do those festivals with my, my situation here with my kids and the living situation. So it's just been, you just got to go into every job as if it's your last.
Interesting. So how do you keep the joy and the passion there? Because, you mentioned family stuff as well and all the other dynamics. How do you because, with acting, I know this was an amazing opportunity. You had so much fun. The Last King of Cross, I believe it's called. And you were saying that everyone's very excited for hopefully a season 3, but you don't know. How do you bring the joy and the passion for comedy?
I think you have to scare yourself. I think you need to do. It's so hard to get yourself. I just read Atomic Habits, actually, which I was just going, God, this. For a guy, apparently James Clear has ADHD, but this book is not written, I think, to help people with ADHD, because it's all very well and good to say, go and do this and do that. And I know he's saying do things incrementally and small, but it's like, look, I've got a desk in my room, and it's like, my bed's just behind me. Just even waking up and knowing I have to walk over to this desk to do some work sometime can be an absolute punish. And I know I'm not alone in that thought process as well. But I think you need to at least try a couple of new bits each time you get up, just to feel that feeling and of accomplishment or excitement again, because otherwise you can get complacent, and then you can get very robotic, and I don't know, you just sort of die behind the eyes. But when you are headlining a lot and you're getting booked to headline, people are paying you a good amount of money, or you're doing corporates as well, you're getting paid quite a lot of money to do this set script, so to speak. And so when you're doing that constantly, it can be quite risky to throw in new material all the time, because it could bomb, and then you've got to work your way out of that one again. And so then you can get into that sort of complacent routine of just doing the same set or a similar set week on, week out. And I think that's when you can get pretty down about it all and feel like you're not doing anything. So I think you do still need to try your hardest to keep trying to make yourself laugh, or keep trying to make yourself feel alive while you're doing it.
You don't understand how underrated that is, and especially for the non-comedians. You've been doing comedy for a while. You know what works. You could do your set. You're going to do better than not. And then, you've got all these different opportunities, but you also want to have fun. You don't want burnout. You want it to be exciting, all that stuff you said. But then to test that new material, that can be really scary. And I know plenty of comedians, especially in Australia, that they won't actually try new material because they know this is going to work, but then it doesn't actually work in the long term. It's a very short-term approach, and it takes a lot of courage to actually try new things. So I really like that.
Yeah, you do need to. And I know I did get into a bit of a routine. I mean, particularly over COVID, when I was doing Zooms, it was just like the same half hour that I was doing the Zooms, because it was just like this set corporate half-hour Zoom thing, and I got into that really regular routine of it. And then when I came out of that and we were gigging again, I was doing that set again, because it was just so ingrained in me, and it took me a while to just go, hang on, you need to write a show, do something else, before, otherwise you're just going to be this guy that's got the same 30 to 45 minutes. And but even so, I still do, I never do everything in the same order either.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll try always if I am doing those headline, if I'm doing back-to-back headliners, like if it's multiple nights in a row, if I'm closing, if there's still the same material, but I like to put it in different places. So then that keeps me alert, and then also I don't really write out a set list quite so much anymore. I'll usually write out maybe the first couple of things that I would really want to say, and then I'll just get into it and then just try and see, all right, well, this is what I feel like going into now. So you're just going through your catalog while you're on stage. And then if somebody says something that might trigger you to go into another bit, that could remind you of a bit that you've got, and you can relate it to that. And so then that feels kind of a lot more fluid in that regard. So then you're way more present. I feel like I'm way more present doing it that way anyway. So then I don't feel quite so robotic. I don't feel like I've just pressed play and I'm going.
Just do the set. But then, and the audience ultimately can feel it. Like if you get up and do the same bit every single time, like that one comedian, I won't say his name, I've been watching him on and off like 5 years. It's the exact same material. It's good material, but I've heard it at least 10 times. So it's like, it's also not fun for that person as well.
I mean, I don't have anything against anybody who wants to do the same material forever. Like, I mean, Seinfeld did it for years and years and years. And I do agree. And I do agree. I mean, he's quite prolific, but he did do like the same set for years, apparently. And also a lot of them did back then. And there's bits of mine that have started out as like a 3-minute bit, but then over the years have turned into 8-minute bits.
That's great.
And I think that's great because you're adding on, you're doing new tags or whatever. It's going into different avenues. And I love that about it, that if you still like that bit and you want to see where it can go, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that at all.
I fully agree. That's evolving, expanding, and growing. Also, I don't have anything against whatever anyone wants. They can do whatever the hell they want. But it's more like, also in Australia, generally, and there's pros and cons. Every year there's a festival, so you want to get new material, but it could mean the material's a bit sloppy because it's not as refined. Whereas in America, they probably do their bits much longer because they want to get on a Tonight Show or they want to get it as amazing as possible. So there's like pros and cons as well.
Yeah, I don't really like the Australian template of the festivals, that pressure to do an hour every year. I mean, some people really thrive at doing it. I felt like, it was fun to do for a while, but again, it started reminding me of my days at the Comedy Channel, putting this pressure on myself to say what's funny. And so then I felt like I was forcing myself to write something rather than wanting to actually write something. And so my relationship with it wasn't as positive as it should be. And I kind of feel like I need to really want to do it. I need to really want to write this stuff or want to talk about this stuff. I don't want to just write something for the sake of writing something. It needs to be something I'm kind of connected to or I do think is funny. And so that template of the working year for comics, you're doing all of those festivals for the first half of the year. And then some people go over to Edinburgh, and that's in August. And so then by September, they then have to think about what their next hour is going to be. And you go, man, when did you write that? Because you've just been performing this whole hour focusing on that. And I guarantee you the show that they finished up in August is vastly different to the one that they started in January or February. Yeah. Even that's evolved and turned into a fully formed thing and an amazing piece of work over all of those performances and all of that time. And now you've got to sit down, you've got to come up with another thing that you want to talk about. It's really hard to step outside of those clothes. It's hard to get it, dressed again and go, okay, now that's dead, that's wiped, onto the next thing. And I found that it was better for me anyway. I kind of liked it if I had a year off and then like do one on, one off, one on, one off. I felt like that was a better way to do it because more's happened. You've got more time to look around. Sure, you're probably not making as much money. I think it's more a money thing. A lot of people are just chasing that cash. If it's going well for them, you're like, yeah, I'll smash out an hour. Apart from, Heggie is a machine. Like he works so hard. He's got probably the best work ethic I've ever seen in my life in comedy, and he can do it like properly. There's no filler in his shows. Like he is working and refining and testing the material out at open mics and anywhere he can all the way through. Once he's finished that show, he gets straight back into it and goes again. And
What
it's
a
amazing.
powerhouse.
It is. He is a powerhouse, and that's why he is where he is today. And it's to be respected, absolutely. But not everybody's got that same work ethic. A lot of people just sort of smush an hour together, or might even just have 20 minutes and then just fill for the rest of it, And I just didn't want to do that. I think if I don't have the material, I don't do the show.
Well, it sounds like you also, whether you call it that or not, like you do what you want to do, and it sounds like you allow for like fun. Like if it's not fun for you, why are you doing it? So that year off, year on, that is also like it won't be as fun for you as well. Is that also a
Yeah, I think it's not that it's just fun. It's also I just don't want to do a shit product.
mm,
I don't want to go into something feeling as if I've done it half-assed or, And I mean, maybe that does come again from the Comedy Channel of going on air with stuff that wasn't tested or worked and refined and that I didn't have faith in. I just think I want to still, and also if I want to get up and talk about stuff that I want to talk about. And if I feel like it's worked up and it's got, there's some momentum there and enthusiasm from me. Yeah, it's not like I want to take that year off festivals just because I want to have fun or I want to have a holiday or whatever. It's like you need to go out and live a bit. I mean, that's why you see a lot of comedians still always talking about travel and planes and airports, because those guys are just touring. That's all they're doing. That's all they've seen. They haven't got anything else to talk about.
No, a lot of actors have spoken about how when they first start out, acting's their entire life, and then they get various advice, but like go and live your life. That's where you'll be a better actor. Like be in the world. And I feel like you're actually doing that as well. It's not just purely.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try to. You do. It is really hard when I think it takes a while to separate yourself from what your career is. And if you are able to not make it define who you are, then I think you're doing very well for yourself.
Was that
people? Well, I think it is hard. I think it is hard to begin with. I mean, it was hard for me. I think it was harder still. I think when I stopped drinking, because then I had to work out what I liked doing.
Oh, no, I fully get that. That's really interesting.
It's like, what did you used to like doing before you turned into an idiot? What were the things that interested you, you goose?
Yeah.
What do you like going and doing that would keep you entertained and enthused and excited? But you need to go out. You need to sort of immerse yourself in the world and keep your eyes open and have a look, or even just put yourself into a situation that you wouldn't ordinarily put yourself into, just because there could be some insight from that you could gain and that you could write about, I guess,
When you decided to become sober, was it hard to find these new things? Like, did you find this like one magical hobby like knitting and your life had changed, or was it a process?
No, I was just stuck. I just white knuckled it for the first year. And then it was just, I think I found great pleasure in complaining quite a lot. And then thought I'd better change that. No, it's still taken me a bit of time to adjust, because it was funny. When did I stop? I stopped 8 years ago. So I didn't have that long under my belt, and then COVID hit, and then we're in lockdown. And I feel like that was that was good for me. I know you're not allowed to say this, but I loved COVID because I got to go to ground and not miss out on anything and not miss out on any work. And I got to do some more work on me and sort of fix myself and be happy about being, sober and alone. And like I recently separated from my wife at the time, just before that hit. So it was just a lot of that. I had to do a bit of work on myself in that regard. So, it is still weird now to try and find stuff that you're interested in when, like, you've got kids too, because most of the activities that you're doing now are just all for children. So you're just trying to do things. Yeah. Well, it's good now. I'm taking them to a skate park and they can hold their own there. So then I can get a skate in as well.
Oh, that's pretty
That's a
cool.
good thing to do.
Make sure they follow only your hobbies.
Yeah, that's
You're going
right.
shooting.
Yeah, and here we're going to listen to some Tool now, guys. This is Tool. Maynard's amazing. Listen, this song's it's based on the Fibonacci series. Yeah, just getting into heavy metal.
Yeah, nice. I'm going. They will become emo kids as well. Be great.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And in that process of being sober, you mentioned what was the word? Learning and doing internal work. And I feel like COVID, although I didn't like COVID, but I liked that it gave everyone the opportunity to just kind of sit, relax, even though there was a lot of fear, but just to kind of like realize what's important as well. So I feel like it gave you the space to kind of like breathe and be like, this is working for me. This is not working for me. Were there any like insights you had where you're like, oh, I had no idea, or anything that springs to mind?
Yeah, it did. It made me want to stay here more for my kids. It made me realize that I wanted to start saying no a lot more to a lot of other things. It made me not want to live out of a bag quite so much and tour quite so much. It made me draw a line in the sand, basically, and say, you're going to take a hit financially here for a bit by saying no, but you're going to have to do this for the sake of your children and the sake of your own mental health.
Yeah.
And also for the sake of where I guess you want your career to go, because I just didn't want to keep going about the way I was doing things and the work that I was doing, because I was just working a lot, and I felt like that did. I mean, look, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I feel like that was one of the contributing factors to why my marriage ended, because I was away all the time, and I didn't want that to then affect my relationship with my kids, and that me chasing comedy and doing comedy was going to be the thing that made my kids hate me if I wasn't around. And so I wanted to be around for my kids more. So,
nice.
So I had to.
That's huge.
It was huge, and it was scary, and it still is scary. I mean, look, I got a really good win last year with Last King of the Cross, and it has made the auditions, the caliber of the auditions, a lot better, and I'm really grateful for that. But also on the flip side of that, I am gigging a lot less than I was, because I want to be here to be available for my children and available for those opportunities with auditions and with acting. And you're still kind of trying to strike that balance between how far can you go saying no before we're,
yeah, you need to live
before
and function and have all
spend
of that.
all your savings. Yeah.
I want to talk about the Last King of Cross, but I want to tie up a few points here. How do you feel mentally now that you've become sober? A lot of stuff happened in life, but like mentally and like your clarity and stuff, have you noticed the difference?
I think there is. Yeah, I still am pretty mental, but no.
I think everyone is.
I think I just have better tools to be able to self-soothe now.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't know. I don't know if it's the sobriety or if it's my age or what, but I just have kind of, I guess, also done a lot more research and reading on Stoicism and
Cool.
And my ADHD as well, and just trying to get my head around what that is and what that looks like and how to deal with it in the best way without having to go and self-medicate and that sort of thing. So, I feel like I do deal with things way better. It doesn't take away the fact that I worry.
Yeah, of course.
But it doesn't help anybody if you've just spiraled out of control and you're losing your mind. You got to kind of try and keep your wits about you and go, all right, well, what next?
That's very mature, and it sounds like you just gave up being sober like that. Was it like easy? I know it's not easy.
No, it was awful, but I did give up just like that. Yeah. I did. There was one day that I drank and then the next day that I didn't.
Any temptations, or it's completely out of your system?
There's been things when I've kind of missed it. I was like, oh man, I'd really love a beer, or I'd really love a glass of wine, or I'd really love tequila.
Tequila. Out of all the things.
like a margarita. I love margaritas. They're great.
I don't drink, but
yeah, okay. I love that. I'm sober 8 years. Margaritas are great. No, it wasn't more like, it was like I really missed that, but then I knew what that would sort of lead to, and I didn't. I think also I'm just a really stubborn person, so I didn't really want to go back to day zero and start counting days again.
Have you watched that show on Netflix?
Which one?
It's about oh my God, I can't remember what it's
called. Is it Louder Milk?
Yes.
Yeah, I've watched some of that. Yeah.
I love that, but I feel like that
he's
is
pretty good.
Absolutely not the experience you get when you go to one of those programs.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. This is kind of different.
Yeah.
But you do get all sorts coming in the door. That's pretty interesting. Anyway.
Would you ever write about it or use it? Do you ever talk about it in your stand-up? Because you meet a lot of people.
About my sobriety or about the
people you meet?
No. Like, no, I think that's, I mean, it's anonymous for a reason. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would it doesn't honor what it is. And it is a really great thing. It's a great thing that it exists. So, no. But I've written about, I haven't gone full Jim Shembry mode. I haven't gone, hey, mate, here's a whole hour on my sobriety
just
or anything like that. But every now and then, like, I dip into it. And it's funny because now I've kind of, this new show that I'm writing is kind of about, I guess it is about how people pretend that everything's fine when it's not.
And I love the name of.
Yeah.
Sorry. What is it? Unbothered, moisturized, happy. Oh, shit, I can't remember.
In my lane, focused, flourishing.
Yeah, I love that name. Yeah.
Which is based on a meme, which I just saw that and I thought it's really hilarious. There's this just picture of this guy just sitting in a pond with that. And so then I took a photo, got a photo taken in Bali, and then we like superimposed me in the same pond.
Oh, nice.
But I just kind of like the idea of that, online. I feel like that's why the poster looks like it's a meme. I'm in a meme on the phone because online we always try and make everything fine. We're unbothered, we're moisturized, we're in our lane, we're focused, we're flourishing. But behind that, it's just we're a fucking mess and we're trying to keep everything together and we're reading self-help books and we're just spinning plates trying to, make sure none of them fall. And I like the idea of that as a premise for the show. So it's kind of me trying to navigate what I'm going through at the moment, but whilst also being influenced by the things that I'm reading and like Atomic Habits or other forms of self-help, and also me dealing with having ADHD and my child having ADHD and getting help for that as well. And so it's just all while trying to look like everything's fine. Everything's fine. Well, just saying that through gritted teeth, it's basically, that's the show.
No, I love it. Yeah. I read the little synopsis as well. And I think that's so important because that's life. Everyone looks at, I've spoken about this for ages, but you look at Instagram and go, everything's amazing. Then realizing what is like underneath that, what's the iceberg. I think that's really great.
Yeah. And that's where it's at. And I don't really want to hide away from, men also too, if you ask them how they are when they're not good, they're always just like, yeah, man, I'm cool, man. How are you? And we don't really talk about that. And it's not like I'm going to get up and go, everything's shit at the moment, but it's not like it's just, I think at the moment, collectively, we are all feeling quite a lot of pressure from just trying to bloody get by, particularly in the cities, and because it's just really expensive just to try and survive, while everyone just wants to look good and we all want to drive the best car and we all want to send our kids to the best school and we all want the best clothes. And it's just like, does any of this fucking matter? Like, none of it matters. Like, the only thing that matters to me is just if my kids are happy and that we're safe and we're fed. And if I can still feed my kids and make them feel safe and happy by doing comedy, then I've won.
That's brilliant. You answered my next 10 questions. I'm so
okay. All right, see ya. That's the end of the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll put in the episode notes, but when are your shows there in Sydney? What are the dates? If you don't know, they're still in the episode notes.
So I'm just doing Sydney. I'm doing Sydney from the... Good. Yep. I'm doing Sydney from the 7th to the 10th of May.
Cool.
And then I'm also doing Newcastle Comedy Festival on the July 19th as well. So that's all I can really do because it's close to home.
Nice.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'm very excited. I hope you have to do extra shows because it's sold out and it sounds amazing.
Oh, I hope so too. It's going to be weird if they don't. It's a 6:15 show. I've never done a show that early in the evening, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm nervous about it, but then I'm also thinking maybe my audience is my age and they'd love an early show. So maybe that'll be good too, because then they can just go and then go home or get something to eat and then go to bed.
I like a 6:15 show. I think
you like 6:15. All right, good.
Better than
okay, this is good to know.
10.
Yeah, I don't want to do those late shows anymore. Those late shows that's when you get, and I've done those, and I really wanted to change my audience because I remember there's a couple of times. I remember sometimes there's these people just vomited all over the floor of my show at the Factory Theatre, and I was just going, oh my God. And then they'd snuck in a bottle of Jägermeister, and I'm like, I need a new audience.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to change my material to try and keep these dickheads
guys.
away. Yeah.
What's the deal with Murdoch Media?
That's right. Yeah.
I want to tie up one point. Oh, actually, just on the ADHD thing, we'll have to talk about this another time. What have you found that helps? I know you said you've spoken about medication stuff, but is there anything mentally or any tool or anything that might be helping?
This is going to sound like, and again, I haven't written any material about this, but I probably will. I have found, and I know he's a dubious individual that could have, I think there's whispers on the wind that he did some domestic violence, but I find that doing Wim Hof breathing has been, I know you're hyperventilating, mate. I know basically I'm probably making myself faint, but I don't care. It feels amazing and I love doing it. And it's one of the very few moments where I can completely block out all of my internal monologues and just focus on that very thing and get a bit of a rush off it at the same time. And I have found that is far better for me than just meditating. And because it just sort of, it's like a reset. I love it.
I love it as well. I do pranayama, which is similar, and I love the different states you can get into. I'm also a big meditator, but what I realized is meditation, there's different types of meditation, but to get into a meditative state, for most people, they can't. And so I was speaking to one of my friends who's a meditation expert, and he said there's like 5 different steps to get yourself into a place where you can actually reap the rewards of, I don't know what they are, of meditation. But he said breathing's the most powerful thing. Because
it's incredible. Sorry, keep going.
No. I was just going to say breathing, changes your state. Even if you don't know how to do it properly, I recommend people learn how to do it properly. It changes your whole state and puts you in for me, it helps me write, puts me in creative states. It's changed my life. And I could speak about this for ages. What were you saying?
Yeah, if I feel lethargic and a bit lackluster, I just find doing that really energizes me and really can boost me up. And usually you just reach for the coffee and start the coffee machine up, and then you're just going to go high and then crash. But I've just found that seems to be a way better way to just sort of energize my body, and just the way it does. You can feel it in the tips of your fingers, and it does feel like you're kind of floating. And there is this sort of bizarre sense of euphoria that sort of sweeps over my head and down my spine when I'm doing it, and just the visuals that I've gotten from it as well. My God, I sound like a full hippie.
No,
but it has been the most peaceful visions that I've had. I've had visions of myself in a forest with light, with light like beaming through the cracks of the canopy, and just sitting there going, "What, man? People would pay good money for this with acid." I just did it from breathing. That was kind of strange. Yeah.
I'm on the same page as you. I never want to be perceived as a hippie, but I've hit different states of mind that you can't explain. But I also find it healing, topic for another time, but you can heal aspects of your life that you didn't even know that were there. Just even the memories and the calm, it changes your system, can rewire your brain. There's so much stuff out there and we probably don't even know 1% of it. At least it doesn't do any harm unless if you're like choking yourself out and trying to get to it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'm not sitting there with a plastic bag over my head jerking off. Like I'm actually listening to a tape.
Yeah. No, I think it's really empowering. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're just off air. You're not on the spot whatsoever. We've hit the 80 minutes. Before we do a rapid fire segment, I want you to tell me about The Last King of the Cross. It sounds like it's kind of like you've had like a transformation doing this role, because you mentioned before you get rejected for so many roles and you've got this role. You've had a lot of fun. Can you tell me a bit about what it's done for you?
Yeah, it was a real surprise. I had been auditioning for a bunch of things, and I remember my dad was over, and we had to put this test down. He was visiting, and we put this test down for it, and I just didn't think anything of it. The only thing that I thought was hilarious was the fact that in the script, the character that my character was playing off against calls me a cunt. And so it was the first time I've ever heard my dad say the C-bomb, and that was really funny.
Oh, that's great.
And so then I did that, and then I thought nothing of it. And then a couple of months later, I just got this call and just said, "You've got a call back for it." And I just said, "Well, for what?" Like I didn't know, because I'd just sort of been testing for a bunch of stuff at that time, and then had to remember it, and then went back and went, "Oh, I actually had that still on my laptop," so I got to go and look at it again and refresh my memory and go in for the callback and get it. And then a week after I did the callback, I knew. So the thing is, you'll get an email from your manager if you didn't get it, but you'll get a phone call if you did. And I remember I saw both? My phone. So it was really confusing. I didn't know what was going on. So then I got the phone call, and I thought, "Oh, that's phenomenal." It was really amazing. It was just amazing news to receive, because it was the biggest I think it was the biggest role in a drama that I've ever had. I've just done a lot of comedy. I've just done guest roles, and so I was just excited to see what that was like, what working on something to that degree was going to be like, and to that capacity. And it was a phenomenal experience. It's such a great series, and I mean, all the crew on that series are phenomenal, and just everyone behind the scenes just working on this thing is amazing. They are so bloody good at what they do, but then so are the actors as well. But it was just, I love just watching them do their thing, watch them set up shots, and watching the camera operators chat and work out what they're going to do, and then you see that afterwards and what they were doing in the show, and it's amazing just the way they lit it and edited it as well. So but yeah, it was I mean, I guess I was kind of scared, but I was also really excited by it, because I knew, because this is usually the quietest period for me as a comedian. Like January, February is just, unless you're doing the festivals, it's bloody quiet. There's not that much going on. So it was also great because we started filming on the 8th of January last year, and it went for a few months. And so I just went, my God, I've got work now for the quietest period of, oh, did you hear that? I just got an email and it went, bing. I don't know if that affects your thing, but anyway.
No, I don't
and so it was just so lovely to know that I had what I was going to do. Because I think at the start of this podcast, I was telling you, you still sometimes feel like your life's a lottery, like you don't know when your number's going to come in.
Yeah. And
having children now, it does feel a lot more of a risk involved with this. It's like, how long can I keep risking this maybe? There's certain things that I can rely on to have an income doing this, and I'm really grateful that I don't have another job. But you do also think, how long can I live on this maybe with children? If I didn't have children, it wouldn't be quite so much of a worry,
Yep.
And so it was so nice to know that there was a definite to project ahead on and see, okay, that block then that's so nice to know that block is now full. Yep. Because you're always projecting forward and going, well, what is next? And when you are thinking like that, it is very difficult for you to live comfortably now, because you're kind of worrying about what's the future unknown. And because that's the whole thing. It was like, you've got to be present. It's like, it's really fucking hard when you're worried about the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so again, I am very grateful, and I'm lucky that I do just get work roll in. Like it does, things always seem to pick up and move, and it's okay. Like I've been really fortunate in that regard, but it doesn't stop you from being worried about it.
Of course,
And
naturally.
it was great to know that we had that locked away, and just working on something like that too. Like it did make me just think, all right, I got to bloody lift my game here. You know, like I'd watched the first series and I knew that I was going to be opposite Claude, who plays Sam, because I play his second in command and in the bikie gang. And so it was, I just went, okay, I can't, this isn't fucking around. Like I'm not doing a comedy here. Like I got to do some work here, which I loved. That was great.
Oh, amazing. And did it help the confidence knowing, you talk about all the rejections, you've got this role? Did it help the confidence to realize, oh, I can actually play at this level?
It's so funny you say that, because on the first week of the shoot, we started filming and I was on the first day. I was in the first scene of the first day.
Oh.
And went in and I did it. And I hadn't done a drama for quite some time. I'd done a lot of comedy for TV. And when you're shooting on comedy, like people at the end of a take, people are like, oh my God, that's so funny. Ha ha. Or you see people trying to not laugh. You finish on a drama and there's nothing. And it was so funny. I was laughing about it with the ladies in the makeup truck, because I just went, I've just realized I'm the neediest fucking comedian. I've turned into one of those people. I'm so used to this immediate response from an audience, the laughter. I crave this. Like my ego can't handle the silence at the end of every take, And they were like, no. If the director's not saying anything to you, you're doing a great job. And I was like, I know that. I'm so abundantly aware of that, but I can't. But it still makes me just somebody just come up and go, hey, man, that was pretty fucking good. Like just a little bit of that was pretty fucking good would be great,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, I'm so needy. That's what I realized about myself. But yeah, it's just going, okay, job done. No one came up. There were no notes. Moving on. They haven't got any time. They just like, move on. We got a lot to do.
Yeah, and that's a good thing that they didn't give you so many notes as well.
Yeah. So
I know
you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Everything's fine. Yeah.
I love that. What we're going to do now to wrap up the podcast is to do a very quick rapid fire segment. So the first thing that springs to mind, I won't comment on them because I will derail them.
Okay.
Ready?
Is this therapy?
If you want it to be.
Please don't. No. Yeah, go.
I'll just ask three. What are you most proud of?
My children.
Next big dream or goal?
Either making Botlow as a TV series or making a film.
I've been watching Bottle. I think it's hilarious. Anything out there, or you going to do another season?
Well, we're trying to. We've written a pilot, and we would love to turn it into a series. Cool. So, yeah.
And they're on your Instagram, so people can check out the videos. They're very
They
funny.
are, yeah. It's just a series that we did. That's myself and Luke Heggie. We work in a bottle shop in middle Australian suburbia, and just the types of people that come in that we have to deal with each and every day.
It's such a good idea because I don't know if you ever watched like Superstore, or there was a Melbourne version as well, which I had the director on as well. And it's, you meet all different types of people, but then when you're going through here, there's the comedy and the people you meet. So,
and we love it. Like it's really good fun to do. And I think we really love Letterkenny. Are you a fan of Letterkenny? It's a fantastic Canadian series that's just it's like set in a small town of Letterkenny. And the writing on that is really, really funny. And I also love Always Sunny as well. And so it's kind of like this sort of, I was trying to think of that when we're fleshing it out, like what we'd want it to look like. And it's kind of that sort of Letterkenny meets Always Sunny meets Spaced as well. I really love Spaced with Simon Pegg back in the day. I really like that sort of vibe. But yeah, anyway, that's a long shot. That's, you asked me what my dream is. That'd be great.
We're putting it. We'll do one thing at a time. Just as a side point, It's Always Sunny. When I work with writers, I'm like, please, like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's like I need you to understand what it is.
It's all time.
Because that's what I'm writing. And if you don't get it, you can be seen in a horrible light. If they. Anyway,
Yeah.
last question. Any advice you want to give to people who want to try something different or new, but perhaps a bit fearful of doing so?
Well, it depends what it is. You know, like if you're thinking about sticking something in your bum, maybe give it a wide pass, mate. You know what I mean? Do you have to be that different on you just to see if the shampoo will fit? No.
Yeah.
No.
That's the best
Do you
I've
mean to
ever
push
had.
yourself? That's the best answer you've ever had.
Yeah, by far.
I think if the thing is something that will help you grow and learn, and it is pushing you outside of your comfort zone in a way that is positive, then I think that it can, then that is what we all need to do. Absolutely. But then having said that too, I mean, if you try and push yourself out of your comfort zone to do something and it fails and it isn't positive, that isn't to say that it was a complete waste of time, because then you've got to work out what went wrong with that and how to achieve something better than that as well. It's like there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way that I love, and it's kind of that way of like not saying, okay, so yes, there are gatekeepers in this industry, but there is also ways to work around that. You don't need to heavily rely on that. And it's like if you get a no for something, it doesn't mean like your career is over. It's like what's the workaround? Like there's always got to be a workaround.
I love that.
Not a reach around. Don't get those two mixed up.
I'm plugging the first part, even though I love the second part of your answer. That first plug, I'm putting it everywhere. I'm putting it on a billboard. I'm putting it. Amazing.
Cam Knight's on the podcast. Don't stick things up your bum.
Thumbs up. Amazing. How can people follow you and keep up to date with you?
I have. I'm on Instagram. I am Cam Knight. I have stuff on TikTok. It's I am Cam Knight, but I've stopped posting. There is a lot of stuff on there. I have a Facebook comedy site page as well, which is Cam Knight Comedy. I've got a website, which is camknight.com.au. There's ways. They're everywhere.
I'll put them in the episode notes below. Thank you so much. You are deep, insightful, hilarious, and I had a great time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a nice chat. Cheers. Good to meet you.
I love Cam's big picture thinking and mindset. He explains that there's always a way forward. He raises the question, what's the workaround? What can you take from that no? How can you grow from it? How can you learn and move forward? Reflection, perspective, and introspection are crucial on the path to achieving. Yes, you may have gotten a no, but with these tools and a mindset shift, bigger and or better things can come from it. It is simply how you choose to move forward. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Our greatest obstacles present the most opportunity. Chad E. Foster. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy.